been a movie fan, particularly military movies. I think I'd seen every one ever made. But in Vietnam, I saw absolutely the best of human nature and absolutely the worst of human nature. And I thought what's really missing in Hollywood is an insight, a psychological, emotional understanding of who we are as professional military people. And so once I retired from active service, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go out to Hollywood. But I had no idea how movies were made. And I was meeting a lot of resistance. A friend of mine who had been in Vietnam with me, he was working for a director by the name of Toby Hooper. He said, look, Toby has got a problem with this story that he's doing. It's called Invaders From Mars. In this version, the Marines swoop in and kill the Martians. We'll tell Toby that you're going to bring in the Marines and stage the actions, and he won't have to worry about it. And I said, I can go down to Long Beach, and there's a whole unit of reserve Marines, and maybe I can talk them into coming up, and we'll just use them as the attacking force, and they'll know what to do. So I walked out of there with a job. I began to develop the theory of training actors, and I was creating this entity, which we called Warriors, Inc. It is full immersion, experiential-based training. I believe sincerely and firmly that the basic warrior spirit is essentially the same. A soldier will act the same way if he's part of a 256-man Macedonian phalanx as he will if he's a guy carrying an M4 in Fallujah. The mentality, the heart, the emotions are the same. I found that if I kept that in mind and meticulously did my research, then I would be ready to train any outfit, any period, any service, and it's proved to be true. I had learned at this point to read Daily Variety and all of the trade publications. And I was paging through one day in 1985, and I saw this little notice that a relatively unknown writer-director by the name of Oliver Stone was going to do a movie based on his own experiences as a combat infantryman in Vietnam. And I said, oh, damn, there it is. If I can find this guy, I might just be able to sell this new advanced program. I was able to get a few minutes, and I went through my best 2-minute pitch. He said, yeah, there's something to that. He said, okay, I'm going to give you 3 weeks in the Philippines, and when they come down out of your training, they damn well better be you and me when we were 19 years old. And I said, I got it. I got my mission. He gave me a wonderful bunch of actors. Charlie Sheen, Forrest Whitaker, Johnny Depp, Tom Berenger, Willem Dafoe, and I made them live the life that we lived as young combat infantrymen in Vietnam. I pulled no punches. They would sleep maybe 2 hours a night if they didn't piss me off that day. Maybe 2 meals a day, once again, unless they pissed me off, and they only got 1. And we had arranged it with Oliver. The last day of training would be the first day of filming, because I don't want to give them a night in a hotel and lose it. And I knew we had something special here, because the performances were just gut-wrenching. They understood what the script was telling them to do. Not just because they memorized the words, they understood the emotions involved in this.
Who's on point? Leonard Warren!
I've asked everybody what picture is going to win, and everybody says Platoon.
I hope so. I hope you're right.
We brought that little $5 million film home and promptly blew everything else off the stage. And we won 4 Academy Awards. And after that, all of those people who told me I was nuts for trying to do this sort of thing, suddenly the phone was ringing off the wall.
I worked with Dale on Band of Brothers, where he was the technical military advisor. He also played Colonel Sink.
You are hereby transferred out of my regiment.
The boot camp was a very important part of the success of Band of Brothers. If you're going to play the part right, you need to know what it feels like. There was a lot of learning to deal with stress, learning to deal with chaos, a lot of mind games, a lot of just hands-on practice with weapons training, how you take care of your gear so that it carries on your body in a certain way. Squad-based tactics, it's got to become second nature. And then that allows you to have a whole layer where now you can think about whatever else you need to think about in the scene. And your body knows what it's doing and is doing it. And you see the difference.
Wander the woods like Hansel and Gretel calling his name. He's bound to hear us sooner or later. Ryan!
Also, getting to work with a guy like Spielberg, who's an absolutely brilliant filmmaker, on something like Saving Private Ryan is a very special thing. And I developed a real friendship with Tom Hanks at that point.
Dale Dye spoke to us in a driving rain, by the way. We were standing out, in this little clearing, and rain is coming down, and we're all wet. And he's talking to us about the reason that we're there, about not just accurately portraying these men who did this, but honorably portraying them and what they went through. And from that moment on, we knew exactly why we were there.
The Warriors Incorporated at this point includes me as the commanding officer, my friend Lieutenant Mike Stokey, the executive officer, and Julia as the chief financial and chief planning officer. Julia and I met on Starship Troopers.
I was cast as a performer in Starship Troopers, and that was the first time that he brought women to his boot camp. And I was fascinated by what he was putting together. So it was really neat because we started our relationship with professional respect and then moved into best friends and then fell in love. Warriors Inc. has done more than 50 productions in film and television. One of the things that we really want to do is to educate civilians on what this means. That allows them to understand the veterans in their lives better and gives veterans a better shot at being understood.
The potential audience has grown exponentially for military films. The presumption was the audience doesn't give a damn. The audience does give a damn. You underestimate the audience, and if you do that, you do it at your peril. Doesn't mean you have to do a documentary. It simply means that when you're in the process of telling the story, get the details right.
I think that's just a matter of respect. If you're gonna have the audacity to tell a story about war, you want to be able at the end of it to look to the veterans and you want them to feel seen.
We owe that to our brothers and sisters. It's vital. Because if we don't adhere to that accuracy, then their story either gets shabbily told, only partially told, or never told. And that's a disservice I will not allow.